visionary chairman and CEO of Floward, the go-to destination for online flowers and gifts in the MENA region and the United Kingdom. With a vision to revolutionize the way people send and receive flowers, Abdulaziz launched Floward in 2017. Today, Floward already operates in 40 cities across 9 countries in the MENA region and the UK, offering a wide variety of flowers, gifts, and personalized arrangement.
There was just plenty of opportunities in the region, right? We lived this was in 2017, so we lived in a region with 450 million population, $3.5 trillion economy, and only 29 billion worth of e-commerce transactioning, which is south of 1% e-commerce penetration, versus, Europe with high teens, or the US in terms of e-commerce penetration. That made a lot of sense, and there was tremendous opportunity. I think governments also realized how necessary it was to invest and diversify away from petrodollar dependence and oil export-only economies. I think we were very fortunate to have that previous experience. The learnings from finance and practice I've had, different trials and errors in my previous entrepreneurial journey, hopefully can be avoided this time. But this is when Floward was born, and Floward is a combination of flowers and word. So combined, we came up with the word Floward. It is a pure play e-commerce destination for flowers and gifts.
Abdulaziz, thank you so much for being on today's podcast. We're really excited having you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So Abdulaziz, if you remember, the whole purpose of the podcast is we really invite inspiring leaders like yourself that are genuinely creating an impact in the region, GCC, and the Middle East. And what we're trying to do here is for the listener listening to the podcast is to, 1, get inspired, or 2, learn something new from you. And the third one is really to delve into your brain and think of why you're doing what you're doing right now in such a way, right? In order to do that right, we don't want to know Abdulaziz we see on the Forbes list, etc. We want to know Abdulaziz before he was the founder of Floward, for example. So if you can walk us through your life journey earlier on, and you take us back in time, and elaborate on that and share some insight, or be headed.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be in this podcast. I think we're an accumulation of all our past experiences. The learning goes both ways, and I think this particular one is quite unique. It's not the rock star, on the stage podcast. It's there are lots of learnings within my inner soul that I probably want to take you through. But my name is Abdulaziz, born and raised in Kuwait. Spent my early childhood, half of it actually outside of Kuwait, with my family. My dad used to work abroad. I got exposed to a lot of different cultures around the world. Well, I think that helped me, or that helped shape who I am today, right? Went to school, undergrad, after Kuwait, after high school, went to the US, did a double major in information systems and e-commerce. Went back home and did something completely different. Finance was a lot more trendy, at least back then. And I worked in a PE house, a private equity house, learned a lot about finance, about accounting, about business. So I think was fortunate to have been really exposed to top-notch best practice regionally, and that helped a lot shape also the discipline side of my practices generally. I think right after that, I quickly realized I wanted to practice what I've learned from school. So I attempted my own startup. 6 months to it, we folded for different reasons, but was fortunate that some friends welcomed the idea of joining them. They had already started a food delivery platform, who I joined, later became CEO, and I think thankfully this business later on became probably one of the largest food delivery platforms in the whole region. Exited that business, took some time off, did graduate school, and focused in my MBA on venture capital as an asset class. It was still nascent. I wanted that intersection point between finance and technology, and felt that I can apply a lot of what I've learned in our part of the world, in the MENA region. Went to the usual suspects, sovereigns in the region, in Kuwait in particular. Well, government asked me to join and apply those learnings, but with government. Back then, we were establishing the Kuwait National Fund for SMEs Development. It's an SMEs agency. It does licensing, permits, land access, funding, training, development for SMEs, not necessarily only technology startups. $7 billion fund. I joined when the law was being drafted. I did that for 4 years. A lot of learnings, and I think I realized at that time how much of an impact when you're working in public policy and national work can you have on your country. Quickly went back to the drawing board with my partner from the food delivery app, and started thinking about, 4 years after spending time in government, started thinking if we can do the same, but on a more commercial basis, not necessarily developmental money, but a pure venture capital practice. And we did. We established a venture practice. We don't manage any fiduciary money. And also realized 6 months into it that investing was not fulfilling so much to me. And I think in time realized that my calling is really in better applying my learnings from Talabat to a new venture. That venture was Floward. Floward is a pure play e-commerce gifting and flowers destination. Very humble beginnings. Started out of a basement. We used to still do procure flowers from different parts of the world. And then we ship them to our fulfillment centers where we curate and different arrangements. Yeah, so I think 4 years with government is not a short period, but I was very switched on. My partner and I went back to the drawing board and really wanted to invest in great opportunities, great founders from the region. So we established Faith Capital, which is a venture capital practice. We wanted to invest in consumer internet, web and mobile, internet and software, not necessarily everything related to technology, just simply areas there that we had past experiences in and could really add material or some value to the founders. But very quickly, 6 months into it, realized that I still wanted to get my hands dirty. There were just plenty of opportunities in the region, right? We lived this was in 2017. So we lived in a region with 450 million population, $3.5 trillion economy, and only 29 billion worth of e-commerce transactioning, which is south of 1% e-commerce penetration, versus, Europe with high teens, or the US in terms of e-commerce penetration. That made a lot of sense, and there was tremendous opportunity. I think governments also realized how necessary it was to invest and diversify away from, petrodollar dependence and oil export-only economies. I think we were very fortunate to have that previous experience, or the learnings from finance and practice I've had, where different trials and errors in my previous entrepreneurial journey hopefully can be avoided this time. But this is when Floward was born, and Floward is a combination of flowers and word. So combined, we came up with the word Floward. It is a pure play e-commerce destination for flowers and gifts. So we procure flowers from different parts of the world, and we courier them to our fulfillment centers. We curate the nice arrangements on our platform, and we also manage the last mile delivery in the event somebody makes a purchase. For that on its own was a $1.5 billion economy market. Fresh cut flowers in the Gulf, very nascent, no online presence almost. Some attempts. We weren't the first to sell flowers, hence why the $1.5 billion market, right? It's very established, thousands of mom and pop shops. But we were very determined to be maybe the first to really tackle the gifting, that sender-recipient experience, right? And I think that's what really made us unique. It's our focus on gifting. We live in the Arab world. Many of us, it's just our values, our traditions, all call for generosity and gratitude. It's very much embedded in our DNA. In Arabic, it's tahadu tahabbu, la yashkur nas la yashkur Allah. These are just culture elements of our DNA, right? So I think combined with e-commerce and making it very easy, we were able to strike that business model. I think we made the right choice. We started from humble beginnings in a small basement. Alhamdulillah, with great team members that we all call our founders, honestly. Today we operate across 9 markets, 9 countries. We service around 40 cities, and we have plus 20 fulfillment centers around the whole region. So this is kind of where we are. I don't know, where do you want to expand, Adil?
It's a perfect combination if you think about it, right? Rigor and the numbers and the what you call clumsiness, or I call it agile way of working. So obviously, Floward reached a level like it's really extremely scalable right now. I mean, you said there are 40 plus cities, 9 countries. Can you walk us through that journey and take us with you in your history of how culture has changed from day zero, for example, to where you are to now being a...
Culture is a very dear topic to myself, and I firmly believe that it should be carefully designed and never let it happen by chance. It probably goes back to previous learnings, all the fallouts that I've had, or the good things that happened, or how much culture contributed to it. But we've had our values designed from day one. It was almost like our vows, right? Where you vouch for these particular values. Those values have grown with us, evolved. Some of them were lost in the journey, new ones were added. And I think that early beginnings, culture is so embedded because you're a much smaller group, right? So hence why you'll tend to have a more functional structure, right? Where you'll have different founders, different partners, mastering a trade and being really the best at what he or she does, And then the combined effort just comes up with this beautiful piece of art that everybody wants to jump on, right? But as that piece of art is replicated, as you scale, scaling that effort is not easy, right? Because at the end of the day, what we're doing is just having more people do greater things. And unfortunately, though that culture, if it's not carefully designed, will fall out when the company scales and as your business gets bigger. So we paid very close attention to it, and we factored it in beyond your merits when we're partnering with someone, when we want to hire someone, beyond his or her merits. We really factor in our values in that process. We have reliability, we have pride, we have thoughtfulness, we have innovation. These are key values for us. So if you're hiring a junior analyst for financial planning and analysis, he or she might be great in accounting, in data, science, but not necessarily carry those values. So you really need to test and sometimes stress test those values. And hence why our culture, our people team really add that filter when hiring great team members. I'm sure there will be incidents when that doesn't apply, but at least make sure it's part of the process. In the evolution of that functional structure, as we grew materially, as we scaled, we had tens of people join us, then hundreds, and then now we've crossed 1,000. How can you really, alhamdulillah, how can you really maintain that culture? And it's by giving more autonomy for teams to scale, because you don't want to disrupt the business itself. You want to make sure that different teams, different geographies have some sort of code that they need to go by. These are the guidelines that you need to stick to, but not necessarily hold their arms and not let them fly, right? That has a cost. It comes with a cost. If you give somebody a lot of autonomy, even if you apply certain guidelines to it, the cost is really the quality of the business you're going to produce, the debt you're going to collect from all these different fat, different leakages. All of that comes at a cost. And we think the best way to control that cost is by applying your values very strictly. Culture is not something that happens by chance. So I think we were able to scale, I wouldn't say without any damage, but with less damage, right? The tone of Floward is very much the same everywhere you go. And I also realized from different cases around the world that this is part of a startup's evolution, corporates generally. You start with that functional structure. As you scale, you move more towards a divisional one, giving more autonomy and independence for the teams to, grow and fly. But later on, when things start plateauing and you want to focus more on quality, you bring back that divisional structure. So I think values, culture have really contributed to controlling our service, our offering, our team. With it, we've had less damage than many other companies as they've grown.
Would you say it's the glue while you're expanding, is the glue between?
I think it's definitely, it's what glues our efforts, right? So if you have culture and your vision, I think these two are the key cornerstones to what glues your efforts and really pulls everyone together so that the result is more impactful, right?
One of the key things I heard you speaking about when you were in another speech in Abu Dhabi, if you recall, it was I think a year ago. You were saying that it's not just the culture that you're focusing on, Do you have something which I never heard personally in a startup, focusing on sustainability? And this one of your key layers you really emphasize on. Can you tell us more about that?
Absolutely. So I think ESG is very trending right now, almost becoming a requirement by some regulators. Being private relieves you from all of that, governance requirement. But it goes down to our culture, right? And we believe that giving back to the communities we all live and operate in is not something we should have a choice in. Hence why from day one, Floward has contributed 1% of any revenue it has ever generated to different societies we actually have. And it's not something you'll see on our messaging or on our, assets online or so. But it is very important for us to contribute to our societies. And this contribution comes in many forms. It could be in a donation you would have for some charities. Sometimes it's scholarship for those who are underprivileged to their education. Sometimes it's supporting the youth through different sports. The Olympic participants we've had. Sometimes it's supporting a football team. We did that here in UAE. We did the same in Saudi and Kuwait. So I think that has really made Floward be very close to our communities. We've had an average of one CSR initiative per week consistently for the past 3 years, literally. It's not every city, but if you have the combined, it arrives to around 50 to 55 CSR initiatives per annum. So that's on the social responsibility part. If you look at the environment, we only sell fresh cut flowers. So we don't sell artificial flowers or, coated flowers that prolong the shelf lives. We are working into right now adopting carbon emission footprints and how do we improve that. I know we're applying that as well in our packaging to be more sustainable. So whatever wrapping paper, ribbons, bags for the different boxes, we are moving to a more environmentally friendly materials and when we use that. So I think finally, on the governance side, again, being private doesn't necessarily require us to adopt these values or these requirements. But we've also added one independent director to our board. This is his second year with us because we firmly believe that our knowledge and learning needs to be expanded. Our thinking horizon cannot continue to always be very narrow on the region. We want to learn from the best, and then hence why we're constantly seeking advice from different networks around the world and adding more to our governance as well.
So are you saying you're going more into the premium version and you have your more fancier version of the flower?
We position ourselves as premium gifting. We firmly believe that premium gifting could be done a lot better and could be a lot more fashionable. Not necessarily providing a pricier service or offering, but same prices, much better experience, much better quality, and much better service for our customers.
I like that you're having the pulse of your industry because it seems you recognize something and you change the strategy, the operating model. Obviously has a reason. You have your ears on the ground, what your clients are. How would you say the e-commerce industry is moving again in the near future? Maybe not 2030, maybe in the next 2 to 3 years in the region. How do you see that change?
Yeah, I think I think we're all fortunate to be witnessing this huge, transformation that's happening all around the GCC, right? Governments are investing heavily in our infrastructures, and everything is getting better every day. Hence, that 1% e-commerce penetration is today has more than doubled in the past 5 years, literally. Obviously, COVID has been a strong element and accelerator to it, but the digital transformation that's happening in governments, the infrastructure in terms of payments, logistics, that's improved materially, internet access and how accessible it's been right now, in terms of pricing, even speed and reliability. All of these elements have really positioned the region for material digital transformation, right? But even with all of this massive improvement we've seen, our economies are still at around 2.5% e-commerce penetration. We firmly believe that e-commerce will continue to grow and outgrow all other channels, if I may, of the economy. We believe that all the existing e-commerce size, the concentration is a lot more on more established industries, the one we've highlighted earlier. For established verticals, established sectors, good services are there, but they're only limited to 5 to 10 industries. The rest is literally a desert. And we think there's plenty of room for more services, goods, verticals to be digitized in the near future. Another important element to an ecosystem is the regulatory building block, right? Regulations have improved materially. They are a lot more venture-friendly. Corporates, exchanges, borsas have all improved materially to make our business environments a lot more friendly. So we think that legal infrastructure will enable more businesses from different parts of the world to come to the region. We think that funding has massively changed as well. Again, through different initiatives from government programs, there is a lot of dry powder in the region. As an asset class, venture capital investments have increased by, multiple folds over the past 5 years and will continue to increase. We're still at a very small portion to global investment percentages, but there is still a lot of room for us to grow on the asset class investment itself. Education, and in terms of awareness about the asset class, I think private sector is a lot better than public markets. Public markets will start understanding, being more educated about how venture and technology is valued. But on the private side, I think we'll see more and more interest from different types of individuals or institutions investing more in the asset class. But I think generally that the trend I can really picture is more growth of e-commerce penetration and a lot more investment in terms of manpower, money, education, awareness happening in the asset class itself. Obviously, lots of challenges in the journey, but we've really become immune to the geopolitical kind of scene in the region. But lots of optimism, and I think the GCC has really benefited a lot from the oil prices that are out there, and you can really see how its economy has been not hedged, but more resilient than global economies, especially post the Russia-Ukraine war and other conflicts that have happened.
you're basically saying you're always open for new ideas, and they challenge you to be a better version of yourself. If you're
I hope so. I really hope so. I really hope so. And I think another important, so that's one part. It's that pressure from great minds you're around. And then another part has really been my family, my friends, right? These are people, my friends are my partners at work, right? These are people you hang out with. And these are the real mentors for you, right? At least for me. These are people you're really learning from every day. My family, my wife, my dad, my mom, my cousins, my friends, some of them. It's just, you need to make a choice of who do you want to enjoy life with, right? If it's your partner, if it's your family, people have many families, but within that family, I'm sure there are, select people that quality time with really matters.
So I agree with you, and it's all about the people you're living with and you're really surrounded with. That's what you're saying. But it's really creating an impact on you, whether it's getting the best version of yourself or learning from the closed ones, different aspects.
Short-term plans make better, hopefully return better results for me. I don't think very, very long-term, but I think just be mindful of what you're doing in life, right? You can spend your life as an average Joe, which is fine. That's what the majority of people are. But if you really want to make a difference, make it worthy, right? And make your dreams bigger. Whatever exposure we've had in our lives, whatever great people we look up to have really changed the world. And I don't think your worst enemy is yourself, right? You decide how much you want to dream, and you're as big as what your dreams are, right?
It's very insightful for our guests. I hope they enjoy that. I hope your family and your friends are listening to that as well.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be here with you. But I'm really grateful and thankful to my family, my friends, and more importantly, honestly, my team. These are people who've spent many hours with, most of my day with, and on top of them, my partner, Mohammed Al-Arifi, all the other partners, the founders we work with. Thank you all. Thank you, Floward team, for marking Floward on Harvard's history.
Thank you. Thank you, team. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for that.
Shukran.